We're going to talk hockey and head up to the City of Champions. Bob Stauffer joins us from 6:30. Ched, host of Oilers Now, longtime Oilers broadcaster. How you doing, Bob?
Oh, little, not surprised, right? Same old last night. And we'll see if it's the same old starting Wednesday as we break training camp for the Edmonton Oilers.
How do the rookies look, by the way? What's your assessment of how the rookies have been here through a week of action?
Well, I'm always the guy who believes in being honest, Rod. So we didn't do the game last night in Calgary. We did the game Saturday, and the whole rookie experience from Edmonton's perspective changed because Dmitry Samorukov got hurt 3 minutes into the game. So that was Edmonton's, he's one of the Oilers' two best defense prospects that won't be with the big team to start the season. The other one would be Philip Broberg. Evan Bouchard's going to be on the Oilers. Without Dylan Holloway, who's their best forward prospect, and Samorukov, who's their second best defense prospect, I would suggest to you that the Oilers were a little light, and I think that played out last night. Ilya Konovalov, and I have spoken to several people on top of getting a little bit of video back from last night's game. The Oilers' netminder played well, but it was a Flames game. The Oilers looked tired last night. They rallied back on Saturday from 3-1 down. They got the victory. I don't think they built the deepest team for the rookie tournament. They got a lot of prospects on defense, and they're light up front. And so, which is part of the reason why they've drafted Holloway and Xavier Borgo as first-round picks the last 2 years. And I mean, look, they got the two best – the last 3 seasons, they got the two highest-scoring forwards in the NHL, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I realize there's people in central Canada that think Austin Matthews is one of the 5 best players in the world. Be nice if he finished maybe in the top 5 in scoring once. But, the reality of the situation is they got tremendous top-end talent at the NHL level, but they need to support that with some younger forward prospects here carrying forward.
Bob, legitimately, how many spots are open here as you get into main training camp?
1. Fourth line left wing. That's the. I mean, I'm serious about this. I'm. You got McDavid, Draisaitl, Derek Ryan, and Ryan McLeod at center. So there's your 4 centers. Your 4 right wings are going to be Puljujärvi, Yamamoto, who signed a bridge bet on myself deal Friday night and was announced Saturday. So Puljujärvi, Yamamoto, they're both restricted free agents next year. They're both in at about $1.2 million. And then they've got Zach Kassian and Josh Archibald. And so there's 4 right wings, and the top 3 left wings are going to be Hyman Nugent-Hopkins and Warren Foegele. And so the one spot where I think there's open competition is going to be a 4th line left wing between Tyler Benson and Devon Shore, and then 1 extra forward spot. And, I guess I'll include Brendan Perlini in the mix in the 4th line left wing. So Benson, Perlini, and Shore. And then where does Kyle Turris fit in? So I'd say 1, 4th line left wing on defense. The 4 left shot D are going to be Darnell Nurse along with Duncan Keith, and then Cuckoo and Russell. And the 3 right D are going to be Barry, Ceci, and Bouchard. And then we're going to have Smith and Koskinen here. So the answer is 1.
Wow. So you've obviously thought about this, but let me ask you, so does that make training camp a little mundane for you? And I know it's short because you get into games right away, Bob, but because the expectations of the Oilers are immense, both internally and externally, you would just like to get the regular season underway? Because what you're telling me is there's not much to be decided in the preseason.
And I realize, in your market, Rod, I mean, you're probably talking riders, I don't know, 60 to 70% of the time. Just in terms of the hockey, what is for the viewership for your show? What's the sentiment on the Oilers? Do they expect Edmonton to compete for the Pacific Division title?
We talk 60% NHL. We have that mandate, so there's
really?
That. B, yes, okay. I have the Edmonton Oilers number 2 in the Pacific Division behind the Vegas Golden Knights, and even the Flames people aren't arguing that. Number 2 behind Vegas. Agree or disagree?
Well, they finished 3 points behind Vegas 2 years ago with a lack of depth at forward, and they finished second last year in the Canadian division, and Vegas doesn't have Marc-Andre Fleury. So absolutely, Edmonton, in theory, assuming that McDavid or Draisaitl, God forbid, don't get hurt, I think Edmonton should be right there with Vegas. No disrespect to Laurent Brossoit. He's not Marc-Andre Fleury. And Robin Lehner's had some ups and downs. Now, everybody will look at the Oilers goaltending and they'll say, Stauffer, don't have your 3D Oiler goggles on. And, I work for the Oilers Entertainment Group, and I'm first to tell you that goaltending would be the biggest question mark from my perspective. But that tandem last year, Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen, had the 7th best save percentage in the NHL. I don't think Mike Smith's going to replicate 923, but I don't think Mikko Koskinen's going to come back with an 899. I think he'll go up and Smith will come down a bit. So my expectation is that Edmonton will compete for a top 2 spot. And I want Vancouver and Calgary in the playoffs as well. I think it's just way better. For those markets care about their teams. I mean, it's their primary concern in those marketplaces in Calgary and Vancouver. For those clubs, with all Tom McLeod's a great guy. He's in LA. They'll have a better team. Not quite sure how to assess San Jose. I know you had talked to Jason earlier today. His nephew's on that team. I'm not sure about the Sharks. I'm wondering whether or not they're not a bit like a guy that's 7/8 bald and refuses to take that final inch off and commit to going fully bald. Something that I'll never have to worry about, which is good in my case because at least I have hair because it makes up for the fact that we're carrying some extra weight. But anyhow, I digress. I think Edmonton will be competing, Rod, with Vegas. I think at minimum, a divisional title should be the primary. The Oilers have a way deeper set of forwards than they've had in the past. That to me is the biggest thing. The additions of Hyman and Fogle, maturation carrying forward with McLeod, who already looks pretty good with the captain skates. Derek Ryan, a smart, useful player, coming in that can sort of gap fill and maybe insulate Ryan McLeod a little bit. The Oilers should have a good group of forwards. They should be better 5-on-5, and they've had by far the best power play in the league the last 2 years. So I'm going to be intrigued to see what Edmonton can accomplish this year.
I think we all are, but we're talking regular season stuff here, and I know that you're looking ahead. But what have you discerned over the summertime yourself, and what are they saying internally about the sweep at the hands of the Winnipeg Jets? How did that happen?
Well, you know what? How much? It's funny, Rod. I'm a little bit of a guy that runs numbers, right? Like, I had a conversation with the Edmonton Eskimos in the mid-2000s about scouting, and we had a disagreement about the influence of CJEP out of Quebec, and I'm like. I remember saying to Danny Machocha, Danny, those kids all play football for 4 more months than the kids that are being drafted at 22 out of the West in Ontario. And you have to gauge that in. It's just like in the NHL, you got to factor in a late birthday, a guy born after September 15th against a kid that's born on January 1st. Like, it's just a night and day difference. And, it's just like last night. You have people sitting there lamenting the province of Alberta nationally on TV, with 2 entities, CBC and CTV, that received substantial government funding because Bell took a major amount of money from the Canadian government. And they're going after Alberta, and Quebec's got 2.5 times the death rate per million that Alberta does. Wait a sec here. Like, when did we stop counting, hard stats? So I get a chuckle, right? Like, I get a chuckle on, you got to look at the numbers. In terms of where the organization sees itself, they know they're better and deeper at forward. Different type of defense, more of a transition defense. I think they think they're going to be able to score, and they should be able to compete. But there's one equalizer in hockey. It's goaltending. Like in football, if you don't have a quarterback, it's tough to win. Unless you got a real good team, then you can have a game manager. And in hockey, the great equalizer is goaltending. Connor Hellebuck had a .950 save percentage last year, Rod, against the Oilers. In the 4, Edmonton outshot Winnipeg on average by 8 shots per game. Connor Hellebuck played like a Vezina Trophy winner. He outplayed Mike Smith head-to-head in that series, and the Winnipeg Jets won 4 one-goal games, 3 in overtime. So, if they play that series over 10 times, do the Oilers get swept in 4 straight? Probably not. But I'd argue they weren't deep enough and good enough. I mean, they were down to 9 forwards and 4 defense in that triple overtime game. I think they feel they've addressed a bit of that depth. And we saw with Connor Hellebuck against Montreal, he came back to earth. And the Canadians, I thought, the Jets were going to win that series until Mark Scheifele took himself out of that series. And then the Canadians, right? Yep. And then the Canadians, right? I mean, come on, you look at Connor Hellebuck versus Carey Price, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, well, Price was a great goalie. Hellebuck is a great goalie. And the Jets' best player took himself right out of the series in a change. Against the Oilers, they didn't, you have a team that's got the best power play in the league, and the best player in the world can't draw a power play in 4 games. And then you lose 3 one-goal games in overtime. So how hard do you assess your team in that scenario? Well, obviously they assessed it pretty hard because they went and added Zach Hyman. They traded Ethan Bear to get Fogle under they brought back Tyson Barrie. Adam Larson left for personal reasons, which frankly we could all understand. And, Evan Bouchard's going to be a big part of things. So they think they have a better team. And I tend to agree with them. I think they have a deeper team. And even the harshest critics, Rod, of the Oilers and what their team is, a guy like Dom Lucian from The Athletic, he's got Edmonton ranked the 6th or 7th best team in the league to start the year based upon the additions they've made.
Well, you didn't even mention Duncan Keith when you were going through your list of offseason acquisitions there. Yeah. So, by the way, Northside YEG writes on YouTube, never can have enough Oilers talk. So we'll write that down. Duly noted. Bobby, thanks for this. Always love chatting with you, man. Good seeing you. Have a great season, and we'll catch up here in the fall.
When you're stuck and can't get anybody better out of Edmonton, give me a call.
Right. All right, Bob. The great Bob Stauffer, 630 CHED, host of Oilers Now. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.